Hello, my loves. Hello, hello, hello. My name is Destina. This is Spiritually Bougie Astrology, and babies, we need to talk. We need to talk. We need to have a very interesting conversation because this has been a very big download week for me. It's funny. I'm actually going to talk about that here in a minute. But the main thing that's been coming through in my downloads is that some of the ways that I've been doing the podcast, I know it's been helpful for a lot of you, and I get comments all the time about accuracy, and I appreciate those. I do. But what's come through my meditation this week, what's been coming through whenever I just sit down and I start doing this, is that the way I've been doing this needs to change because some of the information that I get doesn't just play by the day by day. A lot of the time, some of the things that I get in my downloads tells me that whatever's going on in that moment, we're going to come back around. Whatever is going on in that moment is not going to come back around just one time in the sense of like in a few weeks, like in a Mercury retrograde, we come back over something. We are going into a Venus retrograde, and of course, that's going to have months of coming back. But I've even had things coming through recently telling me that some of the events that are coming through right now, they're not just going to come back around in a month or in 2 months. In fact, some of them are going to be disrupted as far out as 2 years from now. Can't really put that in the weekly forecast. You really can't. I was doing the notes for the Capricorn full moon episode, and that one I ended up not recording because once the moon went into Capricorn, and I'm going through a Capricorn perfection year, so that's interesting, was I kind of leveled out. I do regular things outside in the garden. There's a very regular basis that I'm working outside because I need that energy to get grounded, and then it makes it easier. It helps like cleanse my palette. So whenever I start tuning in other people's energies to do their readings and stuff like that, like it's shaking it off. Like I go get grounded, get muddy, get dirty, get sweaty, let things come out of my pores. Then I hop in the shower and cleanse it all off. And it's great for me. Everybody's got their own method. That's mine. I want to go get dirty, play in the dirt, then wash it all out. It's like it's so cleansing. When I was working outside last weekend, I get heat exhaustion. I never get heat exhaustion. Now, part of that you can say, well, it's age. Well, part of that could be like, well, you were just out there for too long. You didn't stay hydrated. No, I did. Did everything I would normally do. I was hydrated. I took my breaks. If I was working in the sun, then I would make sure to step out of the sun after so much time because I don't like to get sunburnt. I hate whenever I get sunburnt. And a lot of you who know me in real life, like I have had plenty of sunburn days this year. It just happens. But that particular wave of heat exhaustion, it knocked me out for like 5 days. But that whole timeline, I'm getting downloads and I'm seeing things come through. And I'm hearing little things and I'm feeling things and I'm getting glimpses of some of the things that are about to come. And some of that is in my personal life and what I'm dealing with at home. Some of that is in regards to like people in my immediate surroundings. Some of that has been other things. I don't really want to get into the other things, but I know for me, this Venus retrograde is going to have a disruption. There will be something in the next few weeks, and it's most likely tied to my mother and her health, that is going to disrupt this podcast. I know it. I have known it, but I have tried to get a good grip of a routine and everything, thinking if I can just level it all out, I'll get it figured out. Well, I don't think it's going to happen that way, and I hate saying that. So I'm telling people up front, there is going to be a disruption. Because I know there's going to be a disruption, that also tells me that maybe the weekly aspects that I was planning on doing shouldn't necessarily be the way that I keep leaning into it, because I'm not going to be able to stay consistent, and that's going to piss me off. That's going to piss me off at myself, not so much you guys. I'm a driven person. I like things to get done. I like things to look good, be good, come out well for everybody. And I like to get things done. I'm a Mars ruled person. Scorpio, Scorpio rising. I'm Plutonian, very Plutonian with the downloads and everything else, but I'm still very Mars. Home builder, get it done. I fight my battles. I fight other people's battles. I mean, hell, it happens. I'm just being honest about that. The energy that we're coming out of from the week before going into this week, many of us are really feeling the spinning effect already coming in. And what I've tried to tell people in my private practice is that we've been in the calm before the storm, this transition timeline. What happened during eclipse season and that Mercury retrograde, that was intense, but I said it was going to be intense. June, bridging, bringing timelines together, weaving certain things together, bringing people in, shoving people out, getting people caught up, making the basket capable, getting things put together. The thing about this week, the week that we're going into, July 10th to July 16th, is this is the last week of transitions. And a big portion of this week, based off of how the planetary actions are going to be a mix of ending one way of doing things so another way can begin, letting go of someone or something so the next thing can come to play. Now, some of us, this is the most mundane thing possible. We've had something going wrong with our car over and over and over again, and we're tired of putting money into a broken down car. So the thing that we let go of is the old car. This is putting it very mundane. What comes through is we have to go get a new car, which is going to mean new insurance and new title and new other stuff. And then you're going to want to have adventures in that. And those adventures can get you some attention. Venus is retrograde. However, if you get too hot shoddy with that new sports car or that new Jeep or whatever you're doing, there can be things that kind of humble you in the next few weeks. That's not specific to this week. This week is the transition. It's picking the new car, selling the old one. If we had a car wreck, it's dealing with the insurance, so you can go finally get the new one. For some of us, it's going to have to do with health. Now, I want to talk about what Venus rules for just a moment, because people think I'm playing when I say if it wasn't for the astrology, my mother would not have survived 2022. It was literally me navigating the astrology that allowed for me to lead certain parts of the conversations with the medical professionals to ensure she survived. However, this Venus retrograde is going to have a whole different set of issues. And this is why I want to talk about what Venus rules in regards to health. Venus rules everything tied to pleasure. I can start with that. But the thing about pleasure is it's not just like physical pleasure, because that's what a lot of people go towards. It's also the internal pleasures. Food is a pleasure. How do you take food in? Through the mouth. Through your lips, through the mouth, through your throat, affects your thyroid, all this area, and it goes into your intestines. Now, the intestines kind of have a couple different rulers, depending on which one we're talking about. A lot of them are actually tied to Mercury. Jupiter rules the liver. Venus has rulership over the kidneys. There are going to be things that people have to deal with in this Venus retrograde that can have to do with health. Whether that's physical health in the sense of like aesthetic beauty. I've already said this in a couple of different episodes. I am fully anticipating this Venus retrograde coming out with a slew of people with their new BBLs, and that's wonderful. But I also see this as that there's going to be people that start to have a slowdown and a turn tied to areas of their health. There can be something in the thyroid. There can be something in regards to your bladder, UTIs, so that's a urinary tract infection. There can be other things tied to your reproductive organs that are Venus ruled, because the reproductive organs are split between Venus and Mars. there can be things in regards to that that are affected. That can be a good thing. Last year during the Mars retrograde, I had a girlfriend that she had her hysterectomy. Now it was Mars retrograde. So there were some disruptions. However, that's what she did. She chose to do that. There will be people that are doing that with this Venus retrograde. When it comes to the physical aspects of what Venus rules, it is the mouth, it is the jaw, it is your throat, it is your ears, eyes, because the visual aesthetic, the things that like, oh, it's such pretty art. Oh, you did such a wonderful job. The things that you see that are giving you pleasure, watching television, very oddly got a Venus theme to it in some ways. It's not ruled by Venus, but still. It gives us pleasure. Anything that produces a fluid in a lot of ways. So your mucus, you have issues with allergies and things like that. Phlegm, your skin itself. This is aesthetic beauty. Your beauty routine can change in a Venus retrograde. Anything in regard to your hips, again, your bladder, kidney, ovaries, the female productive organs, these are going to be Venusian, and there can be things in this timeline that we need to deal with tied to this Venus retrograde. Now, that's not everybody. And for me personally, it's not my body that I'm worried about. It's hers. It's my mom. Yeah, we're having issues specifically with kidneys, and we have been since Mars went into Leo, so since May. And I'm seeing what's going on, and I'm recognizing the pattern, and I know where this is going to be in her chart. And I'm telling people right now, the way that I've done these episodes and the way that I've been helping people, I don't want to stop helping them. However, the way that I have been helping people is not going to be the way I can continue to help people. The way I'm doing these podcast episodes have to change, because part of what I'm dealing with is going to make me change it. So I can either let that happen that way, or I can just be honest with you guys from the beginning and not play deaf, dumb, and blind. I'm an astrologer for a reason, guys. I know it's coming, and if I'm open with you guys from the beginning, it makes it easier. Other things that Venus rules: love, beauty, the things that we hold near and dear, so values and some valuables. Anything that would be considered a luxury to you would be Venusian. Again, food, but not just food, how food is produced, how food is grown. Food. There will be things tied to food that are drawn in our attention. There will be things tied to money in the next few weeks. We're already seeing some inklings of it, that are being adjusted. They're slowing down. They're switching gears. Things are turning. And I make that sound really simple, but not everything is so simple. For some people, the turning is like, I am going to transition from this type of banking to this one. Some people are going to be taking out a loan for some reason. Some people are getting their first credit card, and they're going to have some hard lessons with that. But I've also seen things in the news that make me very, very aware that this Venus retrograde is going to have another round of tests to banks and to the financial system. Good, bad, or ugly. I'm calling them tests. That's the best way I can word it. The last few weeks, last few days, I've noticed it the most. Little inklings throughout the weeks, but the last few days I've really noticed it. And I've noticed certain turnarounds and sitting and spinning energy starting for people with love connections, very specific love connections. And in some ways, I'm okay with that. In other ways, not so much. If we're manifesting a lover, if we're manifesting a specific lover back into our lives, understand that Venus retrogrades are in 8-year cycles. 8-year cycles. That means that 8 years from now, Venus retrograde will be in Leo again. The rest of the planets will all be in different places. But we will have another Venus retrograde in this area in 8 years. So if we're manifesting somebody, we could be manifesting somebody back for a month. So literally just the retrograde timeline. For some of us, it could be for the next 6 months until the Venus ruled eclipses play out. That's not quite 6 months. It's actually less than that. I'm rounding my numbers with that one. Some of us, we could be manifesting back somebody that's going to be here for 8 years. And in 8 years, we'll either see a level up in that connection, or we will see the dissolution. And again, that's going to come down to people's individual charts and their individual karma and everything else. I don't mind when people reconnect in Venus retrogrades. Reconnect. I don't like new connections because retrogrades are temporary energy. And temporary energy is freaking temporary. It doesn't last. It's not meant to last. It's temporary. And some are loving. That's what, it happens so fast. Yeah, that's a retrograde. And those fast things, when they happen, whether they're happening to you or somebody in your life, that is the energy grabbing you. That is the energy grabbing all of us. And it can be good and it can be bad. Sometimes that grab is exactly what you need to break out of a bad situation. It finally allows you the access, the oomph and the will in your in willpower, your confidence. That's what the word I was looking for. A Venus retrograde can help rebuild confidence, but don't put all your eggs in that basket. Understand that this is temporary energy. Understand that not everything's going to continue going the way that it has been. This week that we're going into is an inkling of slowdowns. It is an inkling of temptation. It is an inkling of certain things coming to the surface. Another thing Venus retrogrades are really good for are scandals. Not necessarily just the idea of having them. Affairs can start in a Venus retrograde. If you've listened to some of my episodes, one or two of the previous full moon episodes, I warned specific rising signs. Like, there's some temptation in this energy, and I want you to be aware of that now. But really, that temptation can be anybody. It can be everybody. There can be temptation in a Venus retrograde. There can be affairs that start in a Venus retrograde. There can be wonderful friendships and business connections that can start. There can be karmic contracts fulfilled. But there can also be the long-term scandals coming to the surface, playing out for certain people. This is one of those types of energies. And it is in this week that we start to see the spinning effect. Now, when I'm saying spinning, for some people, it's going to be like vertigo and being dizzy and literally having moments to where something doesn't feel right in your body and like, oh my God, I just got really dizzy. I don't know what just happened. That's the energy. For some people, what's spinning is like we're waiting to see somebody else's decision. We're waiting for somebody else to do something. We're waiting for somebody else to pull a trigger. That's still in a waiting game. And if you're waiting for too long, you get to spinning. You get to overthinking. You get to over-processing. You get to overdoing everything that's in your mind. And you don't necessarily have the greatest idea of how to work through what you're feeling. So you start tinkering and looking. And this is one thing that I've really seen in the last few days. And I know I'm going to see more of it. And that is like synastry stuff. I'm in these Facebook groups, not necessarily through the Spiritual Bougie page, but actually through my personal profile, because I can see more. I can see more than whenever it's just the page, and I can interact more. And I watch all of these people, and The synastry groups on Facebook and Reddit have just skyrocketed lately. Like I'm seeing like the slow buildup of skyrocket of like, can somebody tell me this chart? Is this my soulmate? Is this my twin flame? Is this who can tell me what about my thing? I'm like, well, first off, sometimes a chart reading is better. Secondly, that's a lot. That's a lot to just put out there. But the thing is, like, that's a part of the energy. People are throwing themselves out there. People are looking for an explanation. They're sitting and waiting, and we're spinning, waiting for somebody to turn around, waiting for somebody to come back around, waiting for something to give and something to change. And while we're waiting, our heads are spinning, our minds are spinning. We're overthinking every situation, and we're replaying every event in our head over and over and over again from when it was good. And for some of us, it wasn't even that good when we thought it was good. But whatever. This week, there's going to be a lot of overthinking, more than what I've already seen. And I'm bringing this to your attention now. You're going to have moments where you're overthinking a situation, where you're overthinking the energy, where you're overthinking a moment, where you're overthinking the money, where you're overthinking the project, where you're overthinking everything. Overthinking is not a bad idea. It's not a bad thing. What you need to know, though, is if that overthinking turns manic. The idea of something turning manic this week, not so much. But whatever energy is grabbing you this week in that overthinking, not able to let something go, not maintaining a healthy attachment, understand that if you keep going down that rabbit hole, that next week and the week following, that you can turn manic, especially if the turnaround in whomever does not occur. Now let's talk about turnarounds. This entire month, Venus has been trying to catch up with Mars. However, as of today, I'm recording this on Sunday. I tried to record the way I would normally record yesterday, and I kept just blanking out at the screen, so that wasn't fun. There's something in the next 24 hours. So right now it's Sunday. We're going into Monday. Monday, of course, is, I always do this, July the 10th. I have Venus notes in front of me, and then I have the weekly notes. So July 9th into July 10th, we need to stop doing something one way, stop dealing with somebody, stop doing the same old thing. What is the definition of insanity? Doing the exact same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result with no change. We're tired of some level of insanity. And the first part of the week, this week that we're going into, July 10th, July 11th, July 12th, the first part of this week, these days, it is exactly going to be that. Shifting a gear, tuning something else in. The way I'm doing this right now, this is a great example. Because I'm 23 minutes in, I can see a little timer at the bottom. I'm 23 minutes in and I'm not into the chart. Because I'm telling you guys, I'm about to change the way that I do this. And I'm changing it not because I want to satisfy some part of my ego, but because I feel like what needs to happen next in these next few weeks needs to come more from my intuitive side and not so much the chart. Because it is my intuition that helps people the most. The chart is a tool. My intuition picks up on things that the chart can't tell you. It's the truth. There is a moment where we have to stop doing something one way and we release it and we let it go so the next thing can come through, so the next thing can play out. So me doing this way and changing up the way I'm going to do the podcast episodes, and I literally just decided that today. Mars is at 29 degrees of Leo. It also tells me that whatever comes through next, for some people, it is a distraction. It is a distraction from where the full big picture of your trajectory is going to be. But this distraction is because of a closeout that needs to happen these next few weeks. And the inklings of what that closeout is, we've already been dealing with it. We're going to be wrapping it up this week. There are 3 planetary changes, 1 luminary, 2 planets, that in a 24-hour span are going to change signs. Now, the moon changes signs every 2.5 days. Y'all follow my Astrology Bougie page. Like, I always like, the moon is in this sign today. The moon is in this sign today. And it confuses the hell out of people because they don't realize how often the moon changes signs. But hell, the moon rules our emotions. The way that you act whenever the moon is in Aries versus whenever the moon is in Virgo is 2 different types of energy. And not everybody realizes just how in tune that can be. Right now, the moon is in Aries, and I'm just popping off of the mouth, so that makes sense. No, I'm being ornery. I apologize. Overnight tonight, so Sunday going into Monday, the 9th going into the 10th, Mars is going to enter Virgo. Overnight Monday into Tuesday, Mercury is going to enter Leo. And in between these 2 changing signs, and one is just going this way and this way, like they're right behind each other, Mars is going into the Mercury-ruled sign. Mars is going into a Mercury-ruled sign when the ruler, Mercury, is entering an opposition to Pluto. This is on Monday. I'll go and pull the chart up now. I'm pulling the chart up. I'm just not going to do everything by hour. I think it's pretty much the way I'm going to do it this week. Oh, Mars enters Virgo, literally at right around 7 o'clock in the morning, Central Standard Time. Once the screen fully pops up, it's not populating for me right now, so it makes me think it's like slow for you too. But it's at July 10th, so that's Monday morning at 11:10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Mars is in 0 degrees of Virgo. The moon is in Aries. It will actually change signs around 5 to 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. But before it does that sign change, it's going to enter a T-square, which it's loosely in right now, with Mercury in its opposition to Pluto. Communication, logistics, some type of travel for some people. Some of this is going to have to do with like some type of message or branding that is going to either come to a very unexpected jolt, something that like really produces change, something that really signifies some type of transformation, but it also can signify a lot of fear. Pluto can be either way, and I'm a Plutonian person. It is either understanding the change and the transformation and feeling and being a part of that. For some people, it's like seeing how far somebody has come in their transformation. But the other side of that is that it's like trying to wrap up your day and you walk out the door and you run into somebody you didn't want to see. Somebody that sparks fear, past fear and old trauma, old wounds. For some of us, this is going to be the overthinking. For some of us, this is going to be either a chaotic or pivotal form of communication. What? It's Mars. Mars, for those that can actually see this on YouTube, Mars being at 0 degrees of Virgo, this is Mercury's sign. This is the arrival of a disruption. For some people, that's chaotic disruption. That's seeing that the new hire that the boss brought in is your old boyfriend or your old roommate that stole all your shit. It's seeing somebody from the past that we didn't want to see, and it causes an issue. It causes turmoil. It causes frustrations. This is the Earth Mercury form, talking about Virgo. Mars has entered Virgo. So this is tangible things, tangible writing. So it's like getting some type of word, getting diagnosis, getting called saying we need to, hey, we got your results. We got your scans. We want you to do more labs. We want you to go back in for additional x-rays. We need you to go do something else. We need to see something. There needs to be an understanding. Now, part of that understanding is emphasized by the fact that before the moon squares Mercury and Pluto, the moon is going to trine Venus. I'm very interested in the moon's contacts to Venus because the only one that will contact Venus this week is the moon. Because Venus is slowing down. If you are Venus ruled, i.e., Libra or Taurus rising, you're going to be starting to feel the slowdown. And at first, it might not feel like a big thing. It's just like, it feels like things are taking longer. It feels like things are taking forever. It feels like you've been waiting for the turnaround, or it feels like you're getting booked up or you're getting distracted and you can't necessarily put focus somewhere. So you can't fully commit. The moon is in a fire sign. Venus is in a fire sign. So this is meant to be a helpful connection, fire to fire, but Venus is slowing down. And Venus is already getting annoyed because she's been in this sign for so long. She entered on June the 5th. In a normal month, by July 1st, she'd have been out of that sign because her average is about 25 days in a sign. We are already past that. We're about 2 weeks past that. So she's getting antsy. And we'll see that energy in people too. That will be a part of that little spinning energy, is they're just getting a little antsy. We're getting a little frustrated. We're getting a little perturbed and annoyed, but we can't quite voice it. We don't know why. Because we're spinning. We're either spinning on a topic or we're full on spinning. Now, Libra and Taurus risings, this is a whole specific area of the chart for you. I need to do a Venus retrograde video based off your rising signs, and the plan is to do that. But the thing is, like, these get to taking so long. And then when I do my private readings on top of that, I haven't had the timing. So I have no choice. I have to change the way that I've been doing these. Venus sitting and spinning this week. You might notice that angstiness. You might notice that little twitch. The people that can't quit moving their leg. The people that just can't quit doing something. They're fiddling. But the fiddling is trying to distract their mind. You ask for something right here with the moon's trine to Venus, and it's just like, so you got time for me to come in? Like, I want to do highlights. I just want to do something change. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to have time. I don't know. Let me look at my schedule. Like, they can't even remember. Be patient. Patience is very key. When the moon enters the square to Mercury, the moon is pushing Mercury while Mercury is in this opposition to Pluto. This is pushing communication, offering assistance. But the moon, Mercury, and Pluto are all at the 29-degree mark of Capricorn. And that degree mark is going to be very, very important over these next few weeks. We are ending something, ending a way of thinking, ending the way of dealing with something so something new can come in. So new space can be made. So a new topic can be in the conversation. We're talking Mercury now. This is likely going to cause a disruption. Now, for some people, Monday is going to be a finality based off of a separate disruption, based off separate communication that we weren't necessarily anticipating. Again, Mercury just went into Virgo. Not Mars just went into Virgo. I apologize, I said that wrong. While Mercury is opposing Pluto. So for some people, Monday is going to be literally they're getting fired. Hear me out. because a complaint came in. And that complaint can be the most minuscule thing possible. The most minuscule. But there's been so many other little things, little hiccups and little frustrations that have built up to a point that maybe they need to make an example. Maybe you've had so many other little mistakes that, like, as minuscule as this one was, it's the final straw. And again, this institutes releasing something, letting something go, doing something for the last time. There is an energy in the first half of this week that is doing something for the last time a certain way because something new needs to come in. Something new needs to happen. Something new needs to be seen, felt, understood. After the moon goes into Taurus, which this is going to happen later in the evening, this happens roughly around 6 to 7 p.m. Did I write that one down? 7 p.m. Immediately, the moon is going to connect with the North Node. Now, if you listen to prior episodes, I actually emphasized that last time that the moon hit a conjunction to the South Node in Scorpio, I said, we're going to feel it. We're going to feel that pull of emotion, that trigger in our emotions. We felt it. Some of us, it was feeling peace. Feeling at peace with the moment, feeling at peace with the situation, feeling at peace with ourselves, feeling at peace with our decisions. We were good. But for others, it was that final little flick, that final little push of the button saying, this isn't for you. Get rid of it. And what am I sitting here saying? We're ending something so something else can be done. So something else can take motion. So something else can grab a hold. That's what this week is. This week is the final week of transitions. We are closing something out. The final little bit of people coming through, of getting some type of information, the final conversations. This is a week of closing something out. Final transitions before somebody throws jet fuel on the fire, because it's going to feel like that. Next week is going to feel like that. Oh, anticipated disruption over the next, I'm recording this Sunday afternoon, so Sunday before July 10th, so this July 9th, of course, July 10th, the human effect will add the 11th and the 12th. Something has to end. Something has to end for something else to occur. For you to be able to focus on this other area, for you to be able to deal with the Venus retrograde topic. Okay. Oh, now by the time we get to Tuesday, of course, the moon is in Taurus. When the moon makes that conjunction to the North Node, Monday evening going into Tuesday, we're magnetically going to feel a pull. A pull to do something, a pull to have some type of conversation. It's an emotional pull. This is internal trigger. And the likelihood that everybody's going to be having the conversation on Monday night, again, not necessarily the case. Some of us might not be having that conversation, doing the new thing, here I'm saying that, until Tuesday or Wednesday. This moment isn't necessarily all about that. I feel like once we get to deeper parts of Tuesday, we are aware of the new thing. Now, there's a couple reasons why I'm saying that. One, I still got at 11:10 a.m. I did not move this by hour. I'm just doing this by day because I feel like that's going to be the easier way for me to be able to do this. If I do, with as many moon transits as we get to midweek, it's going to get really confusing and convoluted. So I'm just doing it by day. The North Node, of course, is at 0 degrees. This is our last week Monday of this week to Monday of next week. By the 17th, the nodes are changing signs. That's next Monday. This is a finality week. So Mercury is the last planet to square the nodes before the nodes change signs. There's a very specific conversation that we are being drawn to have. And it was likely the day before, when Mercury was opposite Pluto, that we were given that information. We were given the situation. We got the test results. We were fired. We dealt with something the day before or the days before that now allowed for this moment to happen. Mercury is at 0 degrees of Leo. Mars is still at 0 degrees of Virgo. Pivotal disruption, necessary disruption, a necessary part of the communication that is going to impact parts of this retrograde timeline. Whatever conversation we're having right now, be aware. Be aware of how much of this energy can be very temporary and how much of this energy can be long-term. Because again, it could be as short-lived as like the next month or two because of the Venus retrograde, but it can also be as far out as 8 years, depending on some of the things that are coming through. It can be longer. I'm just devil's advocate all the time. The glass, I don't care if the glass is half empty or half full. It really comes down to if I'm selling it or not. Okay. Now, on Tuesday, the moon is going to make a conjunction to Jupiter. This is going to allow for certain things to come together, for certain connections to be made. This can be an energy that has to do with luck. The moon and Jupiter together, especially if this is your 8th house or your 2nd house, this can have to do with money. This can have to do with luck. If this is a career mode, then this can be like something falling into place. But I like the energy of the moon conjunction to Jupiter with those two planets at 0 degrees, because this feels like fortune, prosperity, luck, abundance, joy, and happiness. The moon does very, very well in Taurus. It's exalted in Taurus. Jupiter does well in Venus's sign. They're both the benefics. This is a benefic energy. This day, the moon's conjunction to Jupiter feels very, very fortunate. The other thing going on Tuesday, it starts on Tuesday. It's still going on Wednesday. And I want to be clear about this, is Chiron and its square to the sun. Chiron is the wounded healer. There are wounds, old wounds, new wounds. But Chiron squaring the sun is like, tell me where it hurts. This is how you hurt me. This is what I've done to heal. This is how healing helped me. There is a conversation here about healing, about fixing something, about doing something differently. And for a lot of people, this is going to impact their egos. Not everybody is ready to hear just how they hurt somebody else. Not everybody can handle understanding that they have hurt somebody else, because they don't necessarily want to hear negative things about themselves. It makes them uncomfortable. I don't like it whenever you say these things. Listen, you little narcissist. I said what I said. I don't care. It's not all about you. If you did bad things, then we needed to have a conversation about what those were. If you're not ready to have this conversation, why are you here? Mercury is at 0 degrees of Leo. Chiron is squaring the sun. The sun rules Leo. This is why I'm saying this. There will be understandings about wounds, about healings, about how something got fixed, how we can fix something, what can be done to fix something. There is something here on Tuesday. Adding the Fume effect, some of us might get it on Monday, some of us might get it on Wednesday, but Tuesday is when the transit is exact. there is something here about being aware of wounds. But the other thing could be like, you mean a doctor's office. Jupiter can be associated with physicians and doctors and gurus. Chiron is the healer, and Chiron is squaring the sun. This can literally be talking about the doctor, like, tell me where it hurts. It can. Not everybody. Not everybody's going to be in the doctor's office. I'm sure plenty of people don't have any conversations to have with a doctor. I'm sure I'm going to be having a lot of conversations these 2 days about people and their healing process and what's going on with their ego and this awareness. But there is a conversation of healing that's starting here. For a lot of people, it's healing. For a lot of people, it's understanding somebody else's healing. For a lot of people, it's going to be understanding the wounds that have been caused. The sun rules Leo, Mercury is at 0 degrees. Mars rules Aries, and Chiron is squaring the sun. Oh, you're going to have words. You have plenty of things to say. Don't come off from your emotions, though. That's going to be the thing. Come from a logical standpoint if you're talking to somebody about your wounds and what needs to be fixed and what needs to be healed, because that is going to do more than victimizing. You were so awful to me all the time. Don't do that. That's not doing anything. It's not helping anybody. Find another way to purge it. Just trust me on that. A lot of times I would say, tell them everything, but this time around, I don't feel like that's the case. If you don't have the ability to actually put something together and allow for yourself to heal and allow for this moment to be better, then it's going to create more issues later. Come from a very logical standpoint. Understand that your deep emotions are allowed to be there and you can voice them, but you can voice them without crying your eyes out. And I'm a Mars and Cancer person. If I'm mad and I can't hit something, this is the old me. Actually, I'm over the hitting things, but when I was younger, like that was the bad thing. It's like if I couldn't hit something, not a heavy bag, I couldn't do any type of sledgehammer therapy, I couldn't do anything to release the aggression, then it bottled up and it turned into tears. And I hated that. So I'm saying it this way, like, do whatever you can to stay in your logical, critical mindset versus the emotional one when it comes to this. And this will allow for things to come together quite nicely. Whoever the conversation is with, whatever conversation is being had, it will go quite nicely. Wednesday's busier. Wednesday is internally busier. Wednesday is emotionally going to be a little bit busier. We're still dealing with the healing. So on the screen, I have it at July 12th at 11:10 a.m. Central Time. Again, I've never changed the time. I'm just still going with that. But for the people that are listening on Spotify, and what do you know? Chiron is still squaring the sun. They're just starting to separate. They're about 10 minutes, not even degrees, 10 minutes apart. The moon at this time, it has just made a square to Black Lilith. It is coming up into a conjunction with Uranus. Black Lilith is in a trine to Chiron. There's a reason I have Black Lilith on here, because I feel like whatever conversations people are going to be having, there's going to be some secrets that come to the surface, and this is why I left Black Lilith on here. I don't usually use her, but I'm using her this time. Some of the conversations that we're going to be having this week for some people, they're going to have darkness, secretive, cohesive, coercion. Is that what it is when like you're in cahoots? You know where I'm going with that. Cahoots. There's some cahoots going on. But there's also something very unexpected. Unexpected communication, unexpected results, something unexpectedly coming together. It can be tied to the other part. It can be something completely organically different. And that is really emphasized when the moon makes its conjunction to Uranus. Now, that is going to happen specifically between 11:15 and 1:15 Central Standard Time. Venus will also square the moon later in the evening. I'm going to get to that here in a little bit. But with the moon's conjunction to Uranus, this can be as simple and mundane as I've broke my phone and now I must go get a new one. Mercury opposite Pluto was breaking your phone, and now like it's doing the new one, but it's also like taking your backup, putting it onto the new device, and da 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 da. That would be parts of these few days of the new thing. Very mundane example. For others, this is going to be a very, very specific conversation. And whenever the moon makes its conjunction to Uranus, some people are going to be like announcing things online. Some people are going to get a sudden message online. They're going to see somebody else's status update unexpectedly. I'm like, aren't you like infamously single? Now you have a status update of a relationship status. Nobody even knew you were dating. What? That type of thing. There can be some other type of unexpected news that comes through, some type of, shakeup. Sometimes that could be very, very big. Sometimes that can be small. Sometimes it just like you're just getting like confirmation of something over the internet. Again, that's a mundane example. I do feel like there's going to be something more to it, given that later in the week, Uranus and the sun are actually going to be in a sextile. And we had a Mercury Uranus sextile last week. What was funny about that Mercury Uranus sextile is like how much like technology software I seen like all of a sudden like upgrade, 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 update, not upgrade. Well, some people it's upgrade, others it's update. But I think I saw like way too many updates last week. And I feel like when the sun hits that sextile to Uranus, which it's perfecting in this moment, but it's not there yet. It's going to happen later in the week. That we're going to start to like see benefits to some of the recent technology changes. If you just got a phone, if you just got a new phone, then this is like playing with the new features. I'm like, oh my God, this camera is so much better. Like that's the type of stuff that can happen this week. Again, that's mundane. It's a very mundane example. Okay. Oh, we're getting into, well, no, before we get into that, I want to get into the moon square to Venus. Now, that is going to happen later in the evening. I'll go ahead and bump this by hour for this one. I feel like this one's going to be intense and a lot more intense than people are going to realize, because usually a square to Venus is not that big of a deal. However, so for those listening on Spotify, it is at July 12th, 7:10 p.m. Central Standard Time. Right now I have the moon at 26 degrees and 9 minutes of Taurus, squaring loosely Venus up here at 26 degrees and 47 minutes of Leo. So it's not exact. It's going to go exact by 9 p.m. my time. Adjust, numerically in your head, adjust for your time. This moon is in Venus's sign, and Venus is slowing down. There is some frustrations. Some of it's going to be as simple as like, we need to talk about what we're going to do in this area in the future. Like pretend the moon is literally in its home. Like, okay, we really need to talk to the contractor so we know what to do here. We really need to talk to this person so we know what's happening next here. We need to finalize things with the realtor so we can make sure that the inspections can get scheduled. Like in some instances, that is going to be part of this case. But if you are going through Venus activation, so again, if Venus is your chart ruler, Libra and Taurus risings, if you are in a Venus ruled perfection year, not everybody knows what that means, but for every year we live through one of our houses, and sometimes that's ruled by Venus. If we are in a Venus ruled perfection year, this square might not be fun. For a lot of you, I feel like it's going to be frustration, or it's putting your foot down. Taurus risings, I can see you guys putting your foot down like, no, I'm going to put bars over your windows. You're not sneaking out again. Like that type of energy. Like that's what I mean by putting your foot down. But this square to Venus, with Venus slowing down, is going to be felt. And some of us are going to end the evening in an argument and feeling confused. Some of us are going to be trying to get something lined out and planned, and we're going to see that effect of another person kind of losing their shit for a minute. Some of us might actually finally see that spinning effect that I'm talking about. That spinning effect of like, are you okay? I don't know. I don't know. It's just been a crazy week and I can't get my head straight. That's the spinning effect that I'm talking about. For some people, I say spinning because Venus is just spinning. A word that more people tend to recognize is spiraling. This can be where people see the spiraling. This can be a moment where people trigger that spiraling. So understand Wednesday, mostly Wednesday. For some people, it might be on Thursday, and I'll get to why I say that here in a minute. There is going to be something that is testy, triggering, pushes that right button. It's not necessarily going to be the easiest day. It's not going to be the worst day, but we can end the day feeling very, very testy, or seeing somebody else being very testy, not being able to handle certain news, not being able to handle certain communication, not being able to handle certain things that are coming through. Very testy. That's the why I'm saying it that way. Okay. Overnight, going into Thursday, of course, the moon is going to change signs and it is going to go into Gemini. I'm going to bump this back down earlier into the day on the hour. I only moved that to show the Venus aspect. So let's get this. Yeah. Yeah, let's leave that ascendant Virgo. Okay. So for those that are listening on Spotify, I now have it on July 13th at 11:10 a.m. Central Standard Time. The moon is in Gemini in the overnight hours. The moon will go from Taurus into Gemini and immediately square Mars. Now, for some of us, in the last few days, while Mercury, the ruler of these two placements, had some very specific conversations, very specific plans started to get laid out, and now we're looking at these two energies are in the Mercury ruled sign. There is either a test or the emphasis to start the conversations, to work through a disruption, to push a plan forward, to push a situation forward, to deal with something that is mercurial. So this can have to do with communications, this can have to do with logistics, this can have to do with literally your car, because I'm talking Mercury. This can have to do with levels of communication, both written and spoken. We could have agreed to something verbally, but Mars in the Earth ruled Mercury sign can be like, this document does not state what we talked about. They don't line up. Why doesn't it line up? Why isn't this lined up? What are we doing here? And that's what part of this can be. We can also just wake up, because this happens in the overnight hours. Some of us might wake up on the wrong side of the bed. Some of us might be a little bit irritable. Some of us can literally just wake up motivated and driven to go somewhere and get something done and push transition and push something forward. There is an energy to our ambition, our drive, feeling a little different when we wake up on the 13th. Doesn't have to be negative. I think in a lot of ways it has to do with whatever occurred Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, when Mercury was squaring those notes. Whatever conversation, whatever situation, whatever we've talked about, when the moon squares Mars, I feel like we're putting action to what occurred previous, pushing the action, pushing the ambition, pushing the project, pushing it forward. Oh, the moon, of course, is going to sextile Mercury. That's actually on the screen right now. I was just glancing back at my notes. Expressing a future idea, expressing an intent, expressing a destination? Do you want to meet in the middle? Like, okay, well, if you don't have to drive all the way here, I can just meet you at the restaurant. I know you have a lot of errands. Like, no, 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 I can pick you up. No, no, no. Let me eliminate one more thing off your chart, off of your plate. Don't worry about coming here. Don't worry about picking me up. Don't worry about that. I will meet you there. Are you sure? Yes. The moon sextile to Mercury. It's emphasizing aid. It's voicing an aid. It's voicing something that's meant to be helpful. And then just a little bit later, the moon is going to enter a square from Saturn, but Saturn is going backwards. Now, this can be all individual events that have nothing to do with one another. You wake up super motivated. Oh, yeah, I have a lunch appointment. Hey, how are you doing? Oh, my God, I'm so swamped. Do you still want to do lunch? Do you just want to meet up later? We can do drinks? No, I want to do lunch. Oh, well, you don't have to worry about picking me up. I'll meet you. But then whenever you get back from lunch, with the moon square to Saturn, that can be an authority figure going, well, who said you could leave for lunch at that time? Who said you could leave for lunch? What? I already did it. Well, what does it matter now? We don't have my permission. Like, it could be something as simple as that. The moon square to Saturn can also be having to deal with an authority figure needing to go back over something, needing your input as to something that has already occurred, needing to hear something. And it's not going to be necessarily direct from another person. And this can be as simple as, like, I get all of my mom's calls from the doctor's office. It's like, hey, the doctor called and we're going to go in for an appointment next week. Oh, we are? Yep. They said so. And again, this kind of fits into that Venus sitting and spinning thing. Like, they saw something. We now have to go do additional, tests. We have to do additional scans or x-rays. And then this is literally like saying, like, the x-ray, the appointment, whatever it is, we're doing that additional thing next week. This can literally just be that. This can be telling your boss, oh yeah, I just had that lunch. I just had that appointment. I just signed that contract. I just dealt with this. This can be telling an authority figure, I've already paid my fines. I've already done this. This is done. It's in the past. They might not know it yet. They might need to update their computer. They might need to be doing something else so they can see it. In some ways, they might need your input for you to remind them, what happened at that time? What happened in that situation? Oh, okay, I just needed a reminder. So for some people, that can be really heavy, but not, I don't really feel a whole lot of heaviness when it comes to Thursday. I feel like it's just going to be doing the most mundane things. I will say, I have a special note here that when you're talking about some of the past experiences, and if you're trying to gain approval and you feel like things are just not moving quite right, or if you're in a certain situation, especially when we're continuing these next few days, that something just feels a little off, trust your gut. Trust your gut. In every situation, trust your gut. Okay. Keep moving this to Friday. The moon is still going to be in Gemini all day on Friday. The sun is entering its sextile to Uranus this day. This is where I'm saying, going back to what I said before, this is where I'm saying, like, we can start to see the benefit of how to use something, or how this recent update, how a recent spontaneity, how a recent connection can be helpful, can be beneficial, how you can utilize it better. Oh, the other thing that came through was like Mercury and the Mercury Uranus sextile, I'm sorry, last week was threads. I haven't even messed with this yet, but I've already had like 2 or 3 of my people going, hey, have you done this? No, because I haven't had time. But it's so easy. Like, you don't understand how much time I have not had lately. Like, this can be another one of those too. It's like, oh, look, this is so helpful. This is so fun. More people are doing this if they're going into that new technology aspect. Um, there's a lot of communication. There's a lot of noise in the air. A lot of things. People are just busy. We're connecting a lot more. This is a very lightweight Friday. Unexpected things can happen whenever it comes to Uranus sextile the sun. Um, there can also be things that are not immediately clear and immediately understood, but we see a benefit to something. We're playing with that new technology. We're really utilizing that new phone. We're really taking all these fun little pictures of our friends when we're going out for drinks on Friday night going, look at my new phone. I'm just using as a mundane example. But it's kind of like that. It's communicating with somebody through technology. And there's a lot of social activity. We're having a lot of conversations. They're not heavy. They're not horrible, but there is definitely communication. Friday's good. I will say there can be whispers of secrets, whispers of scandals, whispers of gossip. That can be another thing on Friday. When you start hanging out with more people, or you see that new profile on the new technology app, be like, oh, well, I thought this was going to be their business stuff. I get to see their personal stuff now. What's the tea? People, everybody in their tea. Oh, whispers of secrets, whispers of scandals, rumbles of things coming to the surface. That can be a part of the energy. Venus is slowing down. Remember what I said, that Venus can calculate some scandals? Venus is slowing down. Okay. We're going to get to the 15th, which is Saturday. Now, on Saturday, the moon is going to go from Gemini into Cancer. And that's not going to happen until around 12 to 12:30 my time, so we're literally right around lunch. But we're going to wake up with the moon in a square from Neptune. Some of that communication might have a different effect, and it might make us look at somebody else differently. Some of the conversations that are had, now hear me out on this one. Here's Neptune squaring the moon. The moon is in a sextile to Venus. Did you hear? Did you hear about so-and-so? Did you hear about Sally? Did you hear about Lucy? Did you hear about Joe? Remember whenever I was always making fun of Joe back in May? Whoever Joe is. And it makes you question them. I ain't telling you my damn secrets. But it also makes you focus on somebody differently. Focus on a situation differently. Focus on what's going on differently. Sometimes that little bit of gossip or tear that you just had makes you realize that, oh, maybe they weren't that much of an asshole a couple of nights ago. Maybe they were just having a bad day. I'll try again. I might be able to help. I'll offer my services. I'll just reach out. There can be this energy that we have just learned something from the past that shifts and makes us focus on another area, another person, and their situation differently. What can also be a part of this is that the reason certain things have changed in Neptune's energy, because remember, Neptune just turned retrograde here in the last 2 weeks. If there's been a change in something in somebody's body, if there's been a change with like their feet or their lymphatic system or the way that they're responding, it could be realized that it's because of this right here. Because of whatever else has changed with Venus's situation, that it is indirectly impacting this here. This area that you're working on in your life is now impacting somebody else. Well, all you ever do is work. You're never where I need you to be. You're never home anymore. And now your work is keeping something else from happening. It is keeping something else from being able to occur, or it's making something else go wrong because of so much spinning over here. Something else is being neglected. Something else is turning around. Something else is being impacted, and we don't fully know what it is yet. It might take a few days, but we get a glimpse of it right here. After the moon goes into Cancer, if we've dealt with something confusing, if we've dealt with something that pulls on certain emotions during the square to Neptune and the sextile to Venus, then we might be plunging into emotions once the moon goes into Cancer. Now, if we're just dealing with one effect, that can also be it. So say you're not dealing with anything negatively with Neptune. Say it's all nostalgia. Like it's talking to somebody that we really care about, and we're really, in the past conversations that we're having are super nice, and they're vibrant, and they're careful, and they're wonderful, and they're loving. Then what happens once the moon goes into Cancer can be just letting that flood of good emotion just fill your senses. Like, I'm so glad we're talking again. I'm so glad you came home. I'm so glad this has changed. I'm so glad you pull your head out of your ass. Because that's what I say to a lot of people whenever they are acting rude, is they got their head up their ass. For others, they can be like, the nostalgia thing is, it leads to us wanting to do something fun that day. And that is like, when was the last time you went to the mall? Oh my God, I don't know. I'm trying to think of something super mundane, guys. When was the last time you did this? When's the last time you went wheeling? When's the last time you got your mani-pedi on? I'm like, oh my God, I don't know. And then the rest of the day is like doing those things that bring out certain emotions that just give you happiness and give you joy. If this energy right here has been dealing with something negatively, then that can be a part of the impact too. That plunge of just having to deal with something and focus on something once the moon goes into Cancer. And again, that's going to happen right after lunch. So 12 to 12:30 time span. We're winding down to the new moon. The new moon actually does not happen this weekend. It happens on Monday, overnight Sunday into Monday. So kind of like what we dealt with that Capricorn full moon last week. It was overnight Sunday into Monday. It's gonna be the same thing with this Cancer new moon. It's gonna be the overnight stuff. So in some ways, Sunday's gonna have some new moon energy to it. In other ways, the new moon stuff's gonna play out on Monday, just to be clear. Once the moon goes into Cancer, whatever, like I said, whatever we were just dealing with is going to be a part of that energy. The moon is also going to make a sextile to Mars. So there can be some disruption. You can run into somebody who is also in a spinning effect, and it kind of disrupts the moment. And if you're in the salon and you're getting your mani-pedi on, and then somebody across the room is not happy with their mani-pedi effect, they wanted like artwork on their nails, and they're mad the technician didn't do it the way they wanted, and they get all huffy. You've seen it in one way, shape. You've seen the Karen moments. When the moon makes that sextile to Mars, that can be encountering a Karen. Encountering that critical person that is, trying to make things about them that's not necessarily about them. There can also be, additional just conversations throughout the day. I'm like, okay, so we're hanging out. We haven't got to hang out in a long time. We're doing our mani-pedis. We're spending the day together. We're having fun. What have you been working on? Moon sextile Mars. Oh, I've been working on so many things. Talking about the plans for the future, talking about a project, talking about a pivotal disruption. Mars disruption is either chaotic or pivotal, and you can intertwine and deal with a mix of both. There's nothing wrong with that. And that's not really a negative sense that day. I don't feel anything really negative around this time frame. That's the good thing. Oh. Perceptions are changing by the end of the week. The longer you're looking at something, the longer you're dealing with this new thing, the more we're starting to feel some of the turnaround, the more we start to see certain turnarounds in other people. I like that. And for some people, like I said, once the moon goes into Cancer, we're sinking into some kind of emotion, but it doesn't have to be sinking in the negative sense. You can be overwhelmed with positivity just as much as you can be overwhelmed with frustration. Now on Sunday, the moon is still going to be in Cancer. Overnight, though, the moon is going to trine this Saturn, and this actually happens right around midnight. And then by morning, the moon is in this sextile to Jupiter. I like this sextile because this makes me think that it's speaking a future intention, a future connection, a future communication, a future start. But when I say future, for a lot of people, that future start is Monday. It is literally Monday. When I'm talking about Monday, I'm talking about the 17th. The 17th is going to be big. There's a new moon, the nodes are changing signs, and Jupiter's squaring Mercury this day. Monday's big, but this is Sunday. This is like sitting at brunch going, so did you get that job? Did you get that? Oh, yeah, I start tomorrow. Did you get that promotion? Yeah, I did. I start tomorrow. There is an intent, an intention for the future being spoken about on Sunday. We're still in Cancer. The moon is in Cancer. So whatever emotions and reactions that we have, they're ours. Some of us, it's going to be weighted. Whatever happened in that overnight hour when the moon was in a trine to Saturn can be like we had to then focus our attention onto an elder or onto an authority figure, onto our parent. And then Jupiter checking in on the moon is going, hey, any news? Yeah, I'm not going to know anything till tomorrow. Can't do anything until tomorrow. Can't take something forward until tomorrow. Not going to know more until tomorrow or next week. We'll know in a few days. But a lot of Sunday is being in an energy of wrapping up that old so a new thing can begin. This whole week is wrapping up something old, bringing in that final transition so a new thing can begin. And the new that's coming in, it's next week. It's sometime after the 17th. The human effect is not everything happens on the 17th. Sometimes we get sick. Sometimes we're off work and we don't actually get to experience part of that newness for a few days. But a lot of this week is transitioning and really putting people in their final seats. The ride is about to begin. Buckle up. I said this on my personal page in a post this morning. For sometimes when it comes to certain transits, I will do more on my personal page than I do the Spiritually Bougie page. Not because I don't think necessarily people want to listen to what I say on the Spiritually Bougie page, but it's more along the lines of that's more for like memes and it makes everybody like really happy. But a lot of my clients, once we are connected, it tends to be on my personal page. I'm just being honest. A lot of my clients anyways, like there's a personal contact in the way that we even met and the way I've grown my business has all been through referrals. So it makes sense that more people are tied to my personal page than the Spiritual Bougie page. But both have a very specific, helpful element to them. This morning I posted a meme and it was a guy with his glasses all crooked going, people saying they want to be on my spiritual level, but yeah, this is me on my spiritual level. The hair is kind of messed up. The glasses want to fall off. As we continue this week, understand that we're in the amusement park. Most of us. Some people forgot their wallet and they're stuck in the parking lot and they're feeling left out. Pisces and Virgo risings. Sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Not nearly as fun for you guys. Some of the things that are going on this week, though, can still be helpful for them. A lot of this week, though, is us being in the amusement park. There's a few people that forgot their wallet and they're left outside. There are a few people that they're on the ride and they're buckling up. And it's either going to be super fun or it's going to make you sick. Because that's what rides do. It's going to be super fun and we're just going to squeal and yeah. And the other ones will be like, oh, I shouldn't have ate that corn dog. Oh, I shouldn't have had that funnel cake. Why did I drink that slush? Like, why did I have the donut burger? That was too much grease and sugar, and now I'm off. I should not have had that, and then got on this ride. Some of y'all are in the ticket line. Some of y'all are in line for the ride, and some of us are just spectators. I I feel like all of those. But I also feel like all of those because I tend to deal with everybody. So I see it from all the perspectives. I know what it's going to be like for those people that are being left outside, and the depression and the darkness and the things that are going to feel them. And it's going to take time for them to understand the peace that needs to be had these next few months. This week, we really start to see something transition in this area. And you're either seeing more people get in the gate that you can't get into, or you're just sinking deeper into the seat of the car waiting for an Uber or waiting for somebody else, or you're waiting for something. For others, you're on the ride and you have no idea how it's going to go. Is it going to be great? Am I going to get sick? You don't even know you're on the ride. Some people don't even know they're on the ride. That's what's funny. Whatever is about to kick off in these next few weeks, the last 2.5 weeks of July, whatever it is, it's already in the arena. It's already on our plate. It is already the task at hand. So understand, this is our last week of transitions, because the weeks that start to pop off afterwards are exactly going to do that. They're going to pop off. They are going to pop off. I'm not joking. The first half of the month compared to the last half of the month, you guys are going to realize I was serious when I said, whether it's been in my individual practice, whether it's been through social media, or whether it's been through here, the first part of the month is different than the last half. There will be triggers and events that make the pop-off happen. One or two people, I say that loosely, a few of us, this week will have a trigger to it. It will have the first inkling of the trigger, the awareness of what will be triggered. Now, when I say triggered, everybody thinks the negative sense. They're thinking it like twinge in their spine, like, no, I don't want any more trauma. That's not what I'm talking about. For some it is, but not everybody. Come on, guys. Sometimes it's like lighting a match. Whoosh. Dropping it, letting the little thing, the gunpowder, catch, and watching what happens next. We just had fireworks shows, guys. Sometimes when I'm saying trigger, I'm talking about something like that. I'm talking about something good that's going to come through. I'm talking about things that are going to pop off in a positive light. Not everybody is going to have to suffer in these next few months. If you have felt week upon week upon week of things getting darker inside of you, then there are things that we're going to go back over to purge and heal. And I know which ones have been dealing with that, because a lot of you guys have already been doing individual coaching sessions with you. And I think the majority of what July is going to be moving forward is going to be just that. I'm booking individual coaching sessions, because a full reading isn't going to give you the emphasis of what you need. You need something specific. You need somebody to calm those nerves right then. That would be one-on-one, not me word vomiting a transit reading to you, or your chart reading to you. Parts of this week is seeing something else kick off for other people, knowing that we're going to have to deal with the aftermath. Now, these are the people that are in the ticket line. That's why I'm saying it this way. You can see the ride. You can see who's on the ride, or at least who got on the ride. But you're not on the ride yet. Something else has to play out for you to get on the ride. Their ride needs to finish. The new people get on after the old people get off. Those that are in the ticket line are more likely the mutable rising signs. So that's going to be your Sagittarius rising, your Virgo rising, your Pisces rising, and your Gemini rising. Why do I say that? Because at the last half of this Venus retrograde, we get the Mercury retrograde in Virgo and babies. that is going to have an interesting layering effect to what we dealt with. I'm saying this in the sense of like, think of the energy level, not the events, but think of the energy level we were dealing with the first few weeks of January. It's going to kind of feel like that. Again, not the same events. We're in different areas of the chart. Different shit is going on. We're much further along. However, the layered effect of communication, of being confused, of not having shit straight, that's going to have to get fixed. That's the stuff that gets fixed in August and September. So again, some people are in line. And some of us, we're the support. Aquarius risings, Scorpio risings, we're the support. More us than anybody else. Libra risings, you're kind of in the middle. Aries risings, you're kind of in the middle. Like, you guys can be the support or you can be the instigators, knowing you. We are the support. We are the spectators. We are the one holding everybody's prizes and their bags and their cotton candy and the corn dog they didn't finish. We're holding all that stuff while somebody else is going on the ride. We're taking some pictures going, you look great, babe. You're doing so good. I'm here when you're done. I'm here when you're ready. I'm here when you get off. Some of us, we're the support. We're the spectators. We're watching the show. Some of us are going to get drug into the show because of who we are attached to. This is why I'm saying I am anticipating disruption in my work because of who I'm attached to. I'm not saying this in the negative sense, guys. I'm not complaining. I'm really not. But I already know that this is going to be an energy that's going to impact somebody's health because I'm already seeing the inklings of it, and I have been for 2 months. I can't ignore them. So, being as transparent as I want to be, I could tell you more, and I don't really think that anybody needs to hear anything more than that. I am telling you guys what I'm aware of all the way around. In my personal life, in your lives, in the atmosphere. This week is a week of ending something, not doing something the same way anymore, changing the format, changing something, ending something, releasing something, letting something go, letting someone go, so something else can be coming through, so something else can be seen, so something else can start. Some people will get a start this week, but the majority of us are getting the start next week. And that start isn't necessarily going to be the easiest thing. This week, Monday to Sunday. This is our last week of the nodes in Scorpio and Taurus. The last week. That means we are closing something out. We are transitioning. We're letting something go. The dynamic in the energy is changing with the nodes. Venus will start to take on the energy of the South Node versus the North Node. So instead of Rahu and the gains and the head of the dragon, I will consume, I will have, I will own, this will be mine, I want. It will take form as Ketu, as the South Node, as the purging, as the releasing, as the decline, as the outgrowing, as the thing that we need to let go of, as the thing that will bring us peace. The dynamic of Mars is going to change also, where Mars has been in a cutoff, release, let go, I'm done with. Mars is going to be much more driven and much more consumed to do something. And Mars is in a very odd little moment because Mars is closing out a 2-year cycle between now, and it has been for a while. I've said this. To really hear when I talked about this, you'd have to go back to the Sagittarius full moon video, but I did talk about this. Mars is ending a cycle, and Mars is about to go through a rebirth. So the first little bits of what we try to grab onto might not even last very long because Mars is ending a cycle. there is still releasing and purging and letting things go that is going to occur once the nodes change signs. Some of the things that we're going to be making grabs to get will institute a change in certain people and a change in the way that they do things, and it will have temporary gains that require revamping and rebirthing. But that'll be over the course of months. This is the final week of weaving and transitions and everything that I have said for months before the new dynamic begins, and it starts next week. It starts next week. The last 2.5 weeks of July, the first roughly 10 days of August, the intensity to them is undeniable. The intensity that is about to pick up cannot be ignored. You're going to know it. You're going to feel it. You're going to see it. This is me putting perspective in that. Okay. Well, I feel a lot better. I tried to record this twice yesterday. I kept blanking out. I didn't blank out once this time. So I'm feeling a lot better in regards to what's going on. I have had a lot of downloads in regards to the nodes and what I need to tell you guys for that. That'll be in a separate episode. And then I will do like a quick little thing in regards to Venus and everything she's about to tinker with, test, tinker, upgrade, remake, makeover, whatever. We're going to be seeing it. We'll be dealing with it soon. So I'll do videos on those. I hope this is helpful. I love and appreciate every single one of you. I will talk to everybody soon. And if you need me, you can either, of course, find me on Facebook, my personal page, like I said, or you can just go to the Spiritually Bougie Astrology page and message me directly through there. And I'm still, the only time I don't really message anybody back is if I'm busy doing this stuff. So I love and appreciate every single one of you, and I will talk to you very, very soon. Bye-bye.